right? We all shiver and have to burn extra calories to stay warm. It's a weight loss technique. Okay. We'll make a start on chapter 11. See if I can make a little bit of sense out of this. Chapter 11 builds very strongly on the information in chapter 10, and some of what I talked about with regards to perceiving and the perception driving action comes up again here. So hopefully some of this information will sound familiar because of that similarity, okay? So people who work in development, early childhood, cognitive psychologists, obviously motor development people, kind of lean to the idea that movement is important to perceptual development, that we can't, remember we said when we were looking at chapter 10 that it's really difficult to tease them apart and look at them just as one concept, separate from the other, because they're so tightly linked. And so in order to understand the coupling, we want to look at them as a cohesive kind of unit. And what we believe is that movement is the important thing for putting them together, right? As much as I perceive an object, if I don't move and explore the object, then my perception of the object is always going to be limited, all right? If I don't work on catching the ball and all I do is watch the ball, then the perception and the movement, putting the two together so that I move appropriately to seeing the ball, isn't going to happen, right? You can watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it, but if you don't do it, then the two are not going to link up, right? So it's difficult to study this idea, though, because in order to study it, we would have to deprive one group of individuals, right? So I'm going to say for sure, movement and perception are really linked together, and I can't make that connection if I don't move. I would have to have a group of people who don't move. Right? So I would have to have one group of children that we keep in playpens and we don't allow them to move, and another group that we engaged with a lot and we gave them a lot of movement experience. So we can't truly prove it without doing something that's unethical. Okay. Luckily, we've got these really improved brain scanning techniques now. We've got functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRIs. We have PET scans that can be done. So we're starting to be able to make some inroads into understanding the connection here without having to deprive that group. But I'm not sure how far we're going to get until we can make the equipment so tiny that we can put it on a person while they're participating in a game. It would be interesting to see how far we get. I'm not too worried personally about understanding the historical view, except that this piece, the last bullet point, they did try to create perceptual motor programs. So in the 50s and 60s and early 70s, a lot of people were trying to promote what they called a perceptual motor program because of the idea that if someone didn't have good perceptual skills, that would impact classroom learning, would impact cognition. But the way that they were testing that had some pretty big black holes in their testing methodologies. And really there wasn't a lot of evidence when they examined these programs and they really assessed the program to show that the program itself impacted the classroom. Right? We know that moving impacts the classroom, physical activity impacts classroom behavior and learning, but it isn't because we're improving the perceptual motor connection. Right? It's to do with brain proteins and oxygen and functional attention and other things that link physical activity and improved learning in classroom. Piaget is an early childhood specialist that if you look at his work, he has some really cool work to do with movement. He was one of the first people that kind of really pushed the idea that children learn best when they're moving, and he wasn't a movement specialist. Okay. But he does have some very cool books about how children construct their idea of moving and how that links to their construction of shapes and maths and all kinds of other concepts. So they're actually very interesting to read, even if you're not an early childhood person.